We're taking a look at the Sooners 2024 recruiting class as they get ready for life in the SEC. Collin Kennedy of Sooners Illustrated and Hudson Standish join me now to break down this Oklahoma class. And we will start with the top prospects, guys. David Stone leads the way, the only 5-star in this class, but the staff also landed the top running back in the country in Taylor Tatum. Hudson, can you give us an overview of these top talents?
Absolutely, Grace. David Stone put together an incredible final 2 years of his high school career at IMG Academy, transferring from Del City in the state of Oklahoma. I thought David Stone was maybe one of the biggest winners from the All-Star Game weekends, named the MVP of the Polynesian Bowl, had a good showing for himself during Under Armour week in Orlando. And then at IMG Academy, he would just take over games. Super versatile. Andrew Ivins in his scouting report mentioned that he's 280 pounds, but he carries it like a 225-pounder. His pass rush skills from the interior are truly special, and I think give him a chance to maybe get on the field a little bit earlier than expected in Norman. Stock is just absolutely soaring for David Stone. And then you flip to the other side of the ball with Taylor Tatum. I have to give our guy Gabe Brooks, fellow national scouting analyst with 24/7 Sports, a ton of credit because he had Taylor Tatum out of Longview, Texas as a top 100 player when we debuted rankings from his freshman year, and Tatum didn't even play varsity football yet. The Longview to Oklahoma pipeline is absolutely incredible over the past couple of decades. Trent Williams in the NFL is one of the best tackles, Malcolm Kelly, and now Tatum looks to be the next guy. This is a running back that can do it all. He can break away in the open field, his decisiveness, his ability to stack cuts. I mean, he can kind of do it all. And I think that in this Oklahoma offense, he's going to feast as an every down back.
Look, David Stone, Taylor Tatum, those two have always kind of been the kingpins, right? David, chief among them, leader of this class. Taylor Tatum, the crown jewel of the offensive group. But right there behind him, Hudson, as you know, none other than Eugene Brooks. Oklahoma is turning over all 5 offensive line spots from last year ahead of this move to the SEC. And a guy like Eugene Brooks, in my opinion, is a massive get considering the context of this current team. You look at Eugene Brooks, this guy was once a 3-star. I believe he lost 50 to 80 pounds of weight, completely restructured his body, moved from guard to tackle. And Greg Biggins was all over this guy, not just from a recruiting perspective, but a scouting perspective. Greg had long said that this dude, as long as he continued to develop, could turn into a dominant performer. And that's exactly what he did. He went out in the showcase circuit, basically championed every kind of competition in front of him. And now he arrives at Oklahoma with legitimately a chance to play. Now, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to slide right into the starting 5 and lead Oklahoma in the lines of scrimmage as a freshman. But Eugene Brooks is as big of a get for Oklahoma, considering how much turnover is in his position group. Eugene Brooks, not only a massive need, but a really quality get.
A lot of talk about David Stone, obviously, but he is just one of 5 defensive line prospects that make up one of the best position hauls in this cycle. All of them blue chippers. Collin, what are your thoughts on this defensive line group?
Really solid group, but I think we've talked so much about the talents that they are, right? When you look at Oklahoma, as we know, it's not just the offensive line of scrimmage that OU has to fix up ahead of this move to the Southeastern Conference. The defensive line has been a serious issue and a positional need for Oklahoma as long as I can remember. And Brent Venables and this staff have gone out and seriously addressed it with this incoming haul. David Stone naturally up there. But I could give you an argument that while David Stone is MVP of the class, Jaden Jackson was the biggest get. His teammate at IMG seemingly was out of the question for OU at one point. The Sooners get that one in there late, and now one of the biggest defensive tackles who's been dominant at times over the course of the year. He arrives at Oklahoma as a mid-year early enrollee, and even during bowl practices as technically a high school senior, he was already garnering buzz from OU staff. And you look beyond, Danny Okoye, an in-state edge rusher talent, freak of nature, can put over 600 pounds on the straight bar, can hurdle his own teammates in practice. You've got guys like Wyatt Gilmore, Nigel Smith, who was another guy who arrived early on campus for those bowl practices. He impressed as well. All of these defensive linemen were part of that massive overhaul OU needs to get done as they try and fend for themselves in the Southeastern Conference. And if Oklahoma's going to meet the level of expectation that's already in place, it's got to start on the lines of scrimmage, especially defensively. This group could get it done.
Let's look at our under-the-radar players. And Hudson, you're looking at James Nesta, who was recently bumped from 3 to 4-star status after his performance at the All-American Bowl. What do you like about him?
Yeah, Grace. James Nesta was a late invite to the All-American Bowl, and thank goodness he was, because when he checked in, we immediately knew that, okay, he has a chance to get to 4-star status after he measured extremely well. And then throughout the week, it was just so impressive watching him diagnose in space. I think that schools on the East Coast are going to be really upset with themselves 2 to 3 years down the line when they realize they let this guy go from North Carolina to the Oklahoma Sooners. And, Nesta mentioned that Brent Venables thinks that he should start out at the cheetah position, which, as Collin can probably attest to, is a crucial position in Oklahoma's defense. I think that with Nesta getting into the top 247 at the end of the day, maybe doesn't make him as under the radar, but stock is absolutely soaring for him right now.
Ness is going to play cheetah. He's going to play linebacker. He might rush off the edge, and he's going to play baseball. So a lot of boxes to check for someone who climbs into the top 247. My under-the-radar prospect, he is the highest-rated defensive back get for Oklahoma in this class, and he doesn't get talked about because he committed in the middle of a road loss for Oklahoma to Kansas. And I firmly believe he still doesn't get his due. But you guys tell me if this is good, all right? This guy went in as technically a high school senior, and in winter workouts and testing, rep 225 more than 20 times on bench press, got well into the 30s in the vertical jump, and has already been recognized by OU staff for his efforts in these winter workouts. That's none other than Reggie Powers. This is another guy who's going to play the cheetah position, Hudson, and I think that Oklahoma, they got in there after he decommitted from Michigan State, and this whole recruitment just never really grabbed a ton of headlines because slowly and steadily this relationship built up, and then all of a sudden, boom, Powers is committed to Oklahoma. They get a player who they think can play that cheetah, play the single high safety and some cover 3 looks, provide some versatility, maybe even as a linebacker. I just think he's a really darn good football player, a hard worker, and an under-the-radar talent, because I'm here to tell you right now, you would ask anybody in that locker room or in that program if Reggie Powers would have gone in there and been one of the best workout warriors for Oklahoma so far. I'm not sure any single one of them could have predicted that to this point, but he's gone out there and done.
A lot of talk about these defensive prospects, and that bench press story, definitely impressive. But let's take a look at the offense. Zion Kearney leading the way for a loaded wide receiver room. They are adding 5 prospects here. Collin, what do you think about this group?
It's a fascinating group because obviously Zion Kearney is kind of that player who can do it all, right? He's able to stretch the field vertically. I think he can create after the catch. He's just an overall type of talent that wide receivers coach Emmett Jones is a big fan of. Oklahoma really wanted this guy. They got him to commit early. So he's kind of been the big-time receiver get for OU in this class. But he's kind of the do-it-all type in a receiver haul that features a number of almost like unique role players. It spans from Ivan Carrion, who's 6'6", probably going to be hovering around 200 pounds, a gigantic perimeter threat. Just reminds me a lot of TJ Vasher's or Antoine Wesley's when Emmett Jones was around Texas Tech. Then you've got some of these smaller guys with just burning speed, like a Zion Raggins or a KJ Daniels, 5'9"-ish guys, but track star speed to play in the slot or even put them out there on the perimeter as well. All of these different skill sets, they really make you think if you're a defensive coordinator, because how are you going to cover one versus the other, given that they're so staunchly different? And I think it's almost like kind of assembling a basketball team. You want to be able to have someone who can go up and get it, maybe grab you a rebound. You want someone who can get right down the floor and go score a fast break bucket. And OU's kind of assembled these unique skill sets together, and I'm fascinated to see how it plays out on the field. Regardless, it's going to be really hard for defensive coordinators to scheme something up against these guys.
A lot to look forward to as Brent Venables puts together his 3rd consecutive top 10 class. Collin Kennedy and Hudson Standish, thanks so much for breaking it down. And for more Oklahoma football and recruiting news, be sure to check out SoonersIllustrated.com. CK and his staff are keeping you up to date with the latest from Norman all season long.